Hello again. We are going to continue adding integers, adding positive and negative numbers, and we're going to review the two strategies we talked about earlier and move forward. Okay, so we're going to review using the models and the number lines to help us, but we're also going to look at these rules, and maybe this will click with you better than the other two strategies. It's up to your preference, what you want to use. So if you look at these adding integer rules, this one in the middle, it says same signs. If you're adding two numbers and the signs are the same, you just add the numbers together and keep the same sign. So for example, if I had 5 plus 3, those are both positives. We know 5 plus 3 equals 8, and that 8 is also positive. So if I had a negative 5 plus a negative 3, those two signs are both negative. We're going to add the numbers together, so it would still be 8, but it would be negative 8, because negative 5 plus negative 3 equals negative 8. If the signs are different, if you have a positive and a negative number together, you are going to subtract and take the sign of the higher number. That might sound confusing right now, but we're going to do lots of examples. So hopefully this will all make sense to you in a few minutes. Okay, so on this page, you're given some problems, and we're going to use the different strategies that we have learned so far. So let's look at number 1. It's 9 plus 9. Now, just because we're starting to talk about positive and negative numbers, don't get confused. You know this problem right off the bat. They're both positive. 9 plus 9. We're used to that kind of problem. 9 plus 9 equals 18. Nothing tricky. But if you look at number 2, now we have a negative and a positive number. Now, reviewing what we went over in the last video, you can make a model. So for this one, I would have 3 negatives and 1 positive. And remember, 1 negative and 1 positive can cancel each other out. And that will leave me with negative 2. You can also try to visualize this on a number line. If here is 0, 1, 2, 3, this is negative 3. And if I am adding a positive 1, we are moving to the right, and that would leave me at negative 2. So those are the two strategies we talked about in the last video. So we're also going to be using those rules that we talked about at the very beginning, just like a minute ago. So let's do the rules for the next few. If you look at number 3, we have 5 plus negative 2. Those two signs are different. So we're not going to just add those two numbers together and use the same sign because they don't have the same sign. We are going to find the difference of the absolute value of the two numbers, and then we're going to talk about how we choose what sign to use. So the absolute value of 5 and the absolute value of negative 2. So the absolute value of 5 is 5. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. So we want to find the difference of 5 and 2, which 5 minus 2 equals 3. And then to choose which sign you use, you look at the number that is the greater number that has the greater absolute value, and that's 5. And look at the sign that is used inside the absolute value lines, and it's a positive because there's no sign there, so your answer is a positive. Now that might seem kind of confusing, but we're going to keep working on this so you get the hang of it. We're going to do the same thing for number 4. We have 9 plus negative 2. We have two different signs. We have a positive and a negative. So I'm going to think the absolute value of 9 is 9. The absolute value of negative 2 is 2. So I want to find the difference between 9 and 2. So 9 minus 2 equals 7. So I'm going to put 7 up here, and then I'm going to look for the number that has the greatest absolute value, which is 9, and use that sign. And again, 9 is a positive number, so my answer should be positive. But if you look down here, so I had 9 plus -2. Now I have -9 plus 2. Let's take the absolute value of -9, which is 9, the absolute value of 2, which is 2, find the difference, and that's 7. But now I have to look at the sign that was inside those absolute value lines. So if I was thinking about the absolute value of -9 and 2, the 9 is the greater value, and the sign inside the absolute value lines was negative. So my answer is -7. That is my answer for -9 plus 2. Sorry, this is getting so sloppy on my paper. Number 6, this regular number, positive numbers, 2 plus 3 equals 5. Number 7, -4 plus 9. So there are two different numbers. We have to find the difference, and the difference between 9 and 4 is 5. And 9 is a positive, so your answer is going to be positive. Number 8, we have 1 plus -2. We have the absolute value of 1 is 1, and the absolute value of -2 is 2. So we have 1 and 2. The difference is 1, and the number with the greater absolute value, that's 2. 2 is greater than 1, the absolute value. So I look at the sign that's inside those absolute value lines, and it's negative. So my answer is -1. Okay, 4 plus 4, they're both positive, so it's just 8. And then if you look at this one, -9 plus -7, these signs are the same. So we just add the 9 and the 7 together, which is 16, and you keep the sign the same because they're both negative. So now you have used the model, using the model method, you have used the number line, or you can look at those rules to help you figure out the answers. So when you're doing your work, you can use what helps you understand it the most. In your OneNote section of Chapter 9, there is the handout of the rules that were in this video, and also there is a blank, they're blank number lines that you can use as resources. You don't have to turn those in or do anything with those. Those are just there for you to reference if you need them. So we're going to keep practicing this. If it seems a little confusing, remember, this is your first week doing it, so it'll take some time, and you're going to be a pro at this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you later.